Swalwell's sleaze finally sinking him. That's the focus of tonight's Angle. All right, before you buy the media spin that this shows that Democrats have zero tolerance policy for sexual impropriety, or before you say, look how quickly they pushed out Swalwell. Guys, Swalwell's sleaze, even before the recent accusations, was the worst kept secret in Washington.
This thing has been an open secret and whispered about amongst the campaigns for months, that this Swalwell thing could break.
Now, former Congressman Eric the Creep Swalwell, long before last week's sexual assault allegations, well, everything about him oozed ick, from the minor things like passing gas during an interview.
The evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
To big things like his dalliance with Fang Fang, the Chinese spy. Well, it was obvious he was a sleazebag. But even the slimiest survive House Ethics Committee investigations, which he did back in 2023. But his dealings with that Chinese operative named Fang Fang, a.k.a. Christine Fang, spoke volumes. The communist agent not only fundraised for Eric Swalwell's campaign, but she got so close to him that she managed to place an intern inside his office. But during it all, he remained a reliable attack dog against all things Trump. And years before, he assailed Brett Kavanaugh over 30-year-old accusations from Christine Blasey Ford.
What are the chances that 3 or 4 women independently who never met each other would have similar experiences with one person? So either, Ari, this person committed these horrific acts, or he is the single unluckiest person in the world for these people to conspire and make up lies against him.
Well, now who's unlucky? Once the leading Democrat in a crowded California gubernatorial field, he's now out. Not just from the governor's race, he's leaving Congress. The allegations of sexual assault came in like a hurricane, published in the San Francisco Chronicle. The woman told the Chronicle the first assault occurred in September 2019 when she was a 21-year-old staffer in Swalwell's office. She said he assaulted her again 5 years later after an April 2024 charity gala in New York City. In both cases, she said she was too drunk to consent to sex or remember clearly what happened, but woke up the next morning naked in Swalwell's hotel room.
I can see flashes of that evening, of him on top of me pushing him off, him grabbing me. It was a lot more aggressive. It was aggressive. I was pushing him off of me, saying no.
And what did he do?
He didn't stop.
He didn't stop.
He's denying all accusations.
These allegations of sexual assault are flat false. They are absolutely false. They did not happen. They have never happened. And I will fight them with everything that I have.
Oh, really? The dam would not hold.
The accusations are absolutely heinous. Eric Swalwell needs to resign.
What he did is sick and disgusting. There need to be consequences to that.
He should resign from Congress. And if he doesn't, there's a mechanism through which we can do that.
So a few hours ago, knowing he was facing an expulsion vote from Congress, Swalwell had no option except to pack it in. But let's remember what the instincts of other top Democrats were last week. Congressman Ruben Gallego, his best friend in the world, rallied to his side last Tuesday, saying, when you're in first place, that's when they target you. Eric is a fighter, and he will win the governor's race. Well, hadn't Ruben gotten the memo? Party whispers were growing louder. Sleazy Swalwell had become a political liability. And the blowback was spreading wider. And then, poof, Gallego withdrew his support. But for a brief shining moment, Gallego actually thought that his best chum was somehow going to weather the storm. And no wonder. They'd protected Swalwell for years. Even after the allegations came out, House leadership only called on him to drop out of the California race, not to resign his congressional seat. And that was the least brave move on earth they could have made. Well, but Swalwell, he was a political drag.
Let's take a look at the Kalshi prediction markets. Chance that Swalwell wins the California governorship. You go back to the beginning of the month. Look at this. It's about a 3 and 5. He was the clear favorite at this point to be the next California governor. But by Friday, his chances are already adios amigos, goodbye, basically.
Just like Biden had become a liability to the Democrats after the 2024 debate, Swalwell had become a liability to the Democrats in 2026. But had the governor's race looked different if he were a clear frontrunner? If Steve Hilton wasn't registering with voters? Would there have been this flood, this sudden flood of anti-Swalwell stories hitting the press? It makes you wonder. I mean, allegations of an illegal nanny from 2022, and we're just hearing about them now? A little odd, don't you think? As the Swalwell controversy swirled, Kamala showed up at the Sharpton soiree in New York with her typical tired, lame commentary. Of course, that President Trump was running his party like a gangster.
And then he kind of acts like a mob boss. So then he's kind of like, well, you know, you take Eastern Europe, and I'll take the Western Hemisphere. And then you over there, you get Asia. And we'll just divide it up.
Oh, my God. Like a mob boss. Don't you miss that? But who really has the mob mentality here? Now, if I were a betting woman, I'm not, I'd bet that the Democrat donor class, acting like actual mafia bosses, saw that Swalwell's usefulness had run its course. So he was dispensed with. It's worth noting that one of the chief beneficiaries of Swalwell's exit is billionaire Tom Steyer, who now jumps to first in some of the governor's race polls. But the idea that this is all new information about Swalwell, and that his colleagues are shocked as it, I mean, come on. It's as farcical as it was that their claims that they didn't know Joe Biden was mentally MIA. Whoever has the power to dig up the old dirt on Swalwell and force him to resign from Congress probably also has enough power to pick the Democratic nominees for president and vice president in 2028. And while I realize that the press, they're just not the slightest bit interested in understanding how the Democratic Party actually functions. But knowing, though, who makes these decisions, that would tell voters a lot about the real motivations. And that's The Angle.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.